All right. Hi, everyone. Sailor Moon here. Serena here. Sailor URANUS here. Sailor Skyworld here. Amara here. And today we're going to talk about, about how the wise far speaker we got is not an eye speaker. I mean, you always see showings on the Farseer or showings on sundry websites on the Reckoner, or hear it on a wireless, or read it in news sheets or monthlies that everybody wants the eye speaker. Well, that need be not true of everyone. This wise speaker or wise far speaker has Google Android as a running layout, And in my belief, I believe that Google Android can do anything that Apple iOS can do. There might need be some things it can't do. Mostly all the things it runs are Google things, but then it is what it is. Now, some folks might say, yeah, but your Motorola Play G, Y speaker with Google Android or Google Tool on it, they'll say, well, does it start up with the Apple thing? No. That's the only thing it doesn't start up with. When you start it up, it just has this Think Shield, which is the Evilware Stronghold tool that you can't shift off. You can't really do anything with the settings, and then it'll say, hello, Undying. And it says Motorola, and the receiver says Comcast or who's giving your interweb feed, your making calling feed, your call feed, or your wire feed, or your interwire feed, I should say, and your tie feed. Then it goes to your board top. Now, that's if you set up a login, which we did not. And then you might have to do that to get to your board top. So, no, this Y speaker is not a Apple iOS Y speaker at all. And a lot of folks will say, but the Apple I speaker comes in sundry casts. And yes, it does. But that's the only thing that it's unlike. I mean, go on the interweb, give and take tides, give or take calls, give or take interwires if you have it all set up right. And it can also, take likenesses, shoot films. So yeah, anything that Apple iOS can do, Google Android can do too. So there isn't a list of things it can't do. Now, I know someone's going to watch this film and they're going to come up with one little thing that Apple iOS can do that Google Android cannot. Well, you're right, Sailor Moon. You're right, Serena. When we got this wise far speaker, and it would have been 1 year ago, because it won't be 2 years until the 12th month, of this year. And we didn't have a wise speaker before. Hell, we had a far speaker, but not a wise far speaker. And some folks might say, what's the unlikeness between a far speaker and a wise far speaker? Well, a wise far speaker has a more stronger running layout. It has more tools and settings, more things that it can do that a non-wireless far speaker cannot do. Now, and most of the time, it's a good thing. Now, like any wise far speaker, you got to start wiping it off in the beginning, because when you first get it, there's going to be smears on. They're going to get shit on it, and you have to be wiping it off all the time. Only to get it to do something. And then over time, you won't have to clean it as much as you did when you first got it. Now, I know someone out there, yeah, and the same thing can be said for Apple iOS and the iSpeaker. You know, and it's cool. It gets the work done. You know, it does what it has to do. You know, it gives us the interweb. It gives and take calls, give and take tide, give and take inner wires. So yeah, it can do all those things. It can also shoot a likeness, film a film. So yes, it does all the cool things. So yes, Google Android or Google Tool can mostly do every single thing that Apple iOS can do. Unless you want to name one little thing that Apple iOS can do that Google Android cannot, let me know. Or Tool. Yeah, you're right, Sarah URANUS. You're right, Amara. You're right, Sailor. Skyworld. At the end of the day, I think that Google Android or Google Tool, since the word Android is is a Latinist borrowed word. And anyway, yeah, anything that this can do, the other one can do too, and back and forth. Now, I know a lot of folks like to make fun of, Apple and their iSpeaker and iOS and say that they don't do any big update shifts from one Y speaker to another. They just call it like give it another name, but it behaves the same way and it does the same shit. Well, yeah, the same thing of every other reckoner out there and farce, and then Y speaker out there. Yeah, they might shift some little things around like stronghold settings or something like that. But mostly, yeah, they're all going to behave like the ones before it. But I know that seems to be the thing that they like to make fun of and scave, or think they're not coming up with any cool things. Well, there's really few things you can come up with except maybe a fake mind. And that's the only thing that Google and Apple could put on their running layouts for their Y speakers. That would be a big unlikeness. But at the end of the day, we're happy with our Y speaker. We're happy that it's a Motorola Play G, because that's whatever this make is. And, with Google Android or Google Tool, the running layout on it, which at the end of the day, anything that Apple iOS can do, Google Android or Google Tool can do too. So let me know there's one little thing it can't do. Well, at the end of the day, Sailor Moon Serena, I think the one little thing that Apple iOS can do is that it can load up that Apple thing. And that's the only thing that it can do that everyone else can't do. But beyond that, and everything's the same. I mean, all the settings and tools have the same names. Maybe instead of being Google Play, it's Apple Download or whatever they call it, or Apple Shop or whatever they call it. But at the end of the day, it's mostly all the same. Might give it an unlike name, but it's mostly all the same thing. And it mostly comes to the same downsides too, like getting stuck with TalkBack. So anyway, like, share, playlist this film. Tell us if there's anything that Apple iOS can do that Google Android or Google Tool cannot. And we'll see you later.